back to episode number 25 of Musical Journeys. Today I'm with one of my good friends from Birmingham, Alabama originally, Eric Dover, now out in Los Angeles, California. Eric has played with Slash Snakepit, Jellyfish, Alice Cooper, Licorice Quartet, your newest thing, Imperial Drag, among other things. It's crazy, man, all these years, and you know, I don't even know your beginnings. Like, we knew each other in Birmingham, but like, I didn't know how you got started, you know, and I knew that you were in all these different bands around town, but I didn't know what the genesis of your career was, you know, any of that stuff. How did it start?
Well, I was just a poor boy from Jasper, and fell in love with Led Zeppelin records and Jimmy Page and Nazareth and AC/DC, and you know, started playing around Walker County with my schoolmates. Really, it started out just pretty much like I would imagine most musicians start out. You know, just playing with people that they know. And then when I was 18 or so, I moved to Birmingham and started playing with a band called Baghdad, which was kind of a popular, you know, band on the Southeastern circuit.
Right.
And that's basically, you know, humble beginnings.
How long were you with Baghdad? I forget exactly. I remember you were with Baghdad, but...
something like, I don't know, a year. It wasn't very long.
Okay.
But that definitely got my feet wet, so to speak, on the rigors of touring in a sweaty rock and roll band.
Right. Weren't you in Chinatown as well?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
It's really funny because I think there was a gig. I don't know if you remember the band name that I'm in still, Panda Bang Wangas. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So anyway, we played a gig in Auburn, and you guys were headlining the gig, and there was a bunch of bands during the day. It was like it was a sorority mixer, whatever, fraternity mixer down there, and you were there, we were there together, but it's been a long time. But anyway, I remember that about Chinatown. That was a particular, I think, a Chinatown gig, I believe, but that's crazy.
Right.
Crazy. So you worked at the, you know, Halen Music. Did you work anywhere else besides Halen?
When I was really young, I think there was a summer or two there where I worked at Allen's Discount Music. Do you remember?
I think so, because that's up north. That's up towards Jasper.
Right. Well, the original location was in Summerton.
Yeah, Summerton. That's right. Right.
Yeah. And, I did a little helping out there, I think, a couple of summers. I always wanted to be around any music or music gear that I could, so
yeah,
summer job.
I bought my my first Mesa Boogie from Allen's up there in Summerton years and years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when my first real head.
Yeah.
The 50.
That's where all my money used to go.
Yeah, my 50 caliber. You remember that one? The 50 caliber Mesa Boogie.
Yeah, I sure do.
It's kind of weird. Early 90s. So
I think I bought the.
What'd you get?
I bought a Mark III from Allen, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I got it and then figured out that I really wanted a Mark II.
So, you know, when Relics was around, my other band Relics, you were making this transition, and I can't remember exactly how this went, but was Jellyfish before Slash Snakepit?
Yes, it was.
Okay, that's what I thought. And so tell me about Jellyfish and how you got into that, how that all happened.
Well, I had an original band with some schoolmates, Chris Baker and Tony Brock, and we had started a thing called Love Bang, and it was original music that we'd done. We had a little production deal with Ardent Studios in Memphis.
Okay.
So we were driving up there and finishing tracks and doing all this and that, and somewhere along the way we did an opening slot for the producers at Club Masquerade in Atlanta, and I found out through Tim Smith, the bass player at the time, that Jellyfish were holding open auditions for a guitar player slot, and of course we were all massive Jellyfish fans from day one. So I put together a demo of songs and sent them, and they called me shortly after.
Okay, yeah, because I remember the time frame when that happened. Kind of, it was in Birmingham, and then all of a sudden you were involved in this. So what happens when you get in there? I guess you get the gig.
Well, it was 3 months of boot camp, pretty much. It was unlike any other musical experience I had done up to that point, because it literally was boot camp. It was, literally get up early every day. You'd be singing for 8 hours a day together. You'd be rehearsing your instrumental parts, 8, 10 hours a day, sometimes longer. And so we did that for about 3 months before we ever played our first show.
Where was that?
That record.
Where were you doing this at?
This was in San Francisco.
Okay. So
the band was based there at the time.
Okay, so you went out there and you were living out there for a little while, I guess. And then what happens from there?
Well, then the band, the record Spilt Milk was released, and it was pretty well received. A lot of musicians remember it.
Sure.
Still love those records. Most of the critics were kind. The ones that weren't, doesn't matter. And we toured the world, and had a blast. But it didn't really last over about a year of touring, really, because Andy and Roger, the founding members, decided to part ways. Okay. I believe we were in New Orleans when that happened.
So that was your first big touring experience? I mean, worldwide?
Yes, it was. Yeah, and quite an experience it was.
Yeah, so tell me about it. Just what did you learn doing that with them, and what was the things that were different from your local situation to go into that? What were the changes that you had to make and adjust to?
Well, obviously you have things like jet lag. If you're flying halfway across the world, you've got that. In a lot of ways, it's not different than playing your local circuit. It's just that people speak a different language,
Right.
And then the scenery as well. I remember when we first went to Europe that we landed at Gatwick in the UK and then got on a bus and went to Cologne, Germany, and they drove through the night, and I slept. I think that was the first time I ever slept in a proper bunk in a bus.
Right.
And then I woke up and stepped off the bus, and the first thing I see is the Cathedral at Cologne, which I don't remember the name of it, but it's a very famous cathedral. It's gorgeous.
Right.
So, yeah, it was a lot of things like that, just things that completely foreign and I'd never seen before. So I enjoyed every second of it.
You were probably, what, 22? 21?
I was 23, yes.
Okay, right in there, yeah. I was going to say we were about the same age. And so after that, I guess this is the story I told on Facebook, is where I walk into Halen Music and you're working one day, and I asked you what you're up to, and you said you were playing with Slash. And then I think you pulled out a cassette tape that you had some demos on, and you let me hear it. And I was just shocked. I don't know what year this was. What is it, 91? 92?
No, that would have been 94.
Okay, so further out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me how that happened. How'd you get in that whole thing?
Well, that came about through once Jellyfish had broken up. I went back to Alabama and was, still working at Halen Music off and on, and
right.
playing around. And Roger, that was with Jellyfish, had called me up and said, "Get your ass out to California. Let's start making music and stuff." So I packed everything up that I had and drove across the country by myself.
Right.
And I was sleeping on couches at friends' house and things like that. In the meantime, Roger and I were rehearsing at a place called Mate's Rehearsal, which is a pretty famous rehearsal around North Hollywood. And we had this guy auditioning for drums for us named Mark Dansizen. And Mark knows all of the GNR people, and he was the one that basically said, "Hey, Slash is looking for a singer. You should give it a go." And I'm like, I don't know,
Right.
because Roger and I were pretty well knee deep in what we were doing,
Right.
and
Right.
but Roger had given his blessing. He goes, "Hey, why not? Why don't you just go over there and try it? It's not forever or whatever." And so I went and auditioned at Slash's house on I think Laurel Canyon. He used to have a house up there on Java.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically how that happened. It's literally just word of mouth.
So did you full band or just you and him?
Actually, Adam Day, his guitar tech, had a small recording set up. So I basically showed up and he goes, "Hey, here's a piece of music. Why don't you write something and sing it?" And so I sketched out what became Beggars and Hangers On and sang it down. And then after that, Slash called me.
Awesome. So that must have been a shock.
Oh yeah, certainly. "Hey, this is Slash. What's going on, man?" I'm like, "Surely you're joking," but it was him.
Yeah. So he gave you the gig.
Yeah, and then we proceeded to tour on that record we toured on that record for a long time. Actually, we did something like 3 months of just radio promotion. So we flew around the world, jet setting it, and playing a lot of radio station acoustic gigs, and great fun.
Yeah, I've seen some of those videos out on YouTube. They're out there of those acoustic things you were doing.
Right.
And I think I saw a couple of European shows that were out there too somewhere of you doing those. That's wild. So how long did that last with Slash?
Well, the whole experience, probably a good almost 2 years, really, if you count all of it together.
I was gonna say, how old is Slash? He's a few years older than us.
He's a few years older. I don't rightly know. Everyone in Hollywood lies about their age. So
right.
I'm actually 17 years old.
Right. That's awesome. So what'd you learn from Slash?
A ton of things. Anybody that I've ever played with, I've tried to learn whatever I can. And
Right.
Slash has a lot of real world wisdom about things.
Yeah.
It was a little bit unfortunate because everybody wanted a new Guns N' Roses record, and I was basically the sacrificial lamb, having to go out there and win people over, which we did,
right?
And I'm very happy about. But yeah,
it was a tough.
I learned a ton.
Yeah. So, like anything in particular that he taught you that you carried with you, think of, or?
Never have sex before a show.
Yeah. Anything else?
Bring your water soluble vitamins. Get the expensive ones. Don't get Flintstones for kids. No, just a lot of things. A lot of things about professionalism.
Yeah.
How to engage a crowd.
Yeah.
Just trying to push the envelope as much as possible, because that's really a lot of what is built into that kind of sound.
Right. You were already a great frontman in town when you were young. I mean, I never thought you didn't. That was one of your qualities. I mean, so you just talking about ramping that up even more.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Take it as far as it can go.
Right.
And I think we did a pretty good job at it.
Right. So here's another one that I get kind of. I don't really know how you got to Alice Cooper, but how did you get to Alice Cooper? And was there anything between Slash and Alice Cooper that I'm missing?
Yeah, you're missing something.
Okay.
Imperial Drag.
Right, I have that on your list. Yeah. So that was in between there.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
Well, that was Roger. The result of Roger and I had written something. I don't know. It's probably like 20 songs that we demoed.
Right.
I think a lot of them are floating around on YouTube or various other places. But we had secured a deal with Sony, imprint off of the Sony label called Work Group.
Okay.
And that had happened while I was right in the middle of touring with Slash. So I actually signed the record contract in Rotterdam, Holland, in a hotel room somewhere. I remember that well.
Yeah.
So I was committed to doing records with what came to be Imperial Drag, which is one of the reasons that I didn't do another Snakepit record.
Okay.
I was basically legally obligated.
Right.
And so we toured on that for about a year. Played with a lot of acts around the world.
Yeah, I've seen some of that too as well. I've seen some of the videos and things from that. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
So when you were growing up, I mean, like your influences, you just mentioned a few of them, but I mean, was there power pop in that and that kind of thing, or?
Well, my earliest influences were things like British rock. Elton John was a big one when I was young. The Who, particularly Tommy.
Yeah.
The Kinks, and of course Alice Cooper, which is probably one of my main rock influences of all time. I started out with the Greatest Hits record when I was, 7, 8 years old. So that stuff's in my blood.
Right. So the move to Alice Cooper, which must have been really, I mean, like you said, he's a big influence on you. I mean, how did that come about? And tell me about that chapter.
That came about from a couple of people. Eric Singer from Kiss. Eric's a very dear friend of mine. I've known him since I basically came to LA.
Okay.
I was like, who's this guy talking all the time? And he and Ryan Roxy and a couple other people, Stefan Adika, Derek Sherinian, played with Dream Theater, Ted Zigzag from Guns N' Roses. We had this thing that we used to do in Hollywood called Glam Nation, and it was basically 70s glam rock send-ups, and we would dress the part, and we would have fog and explosions and glitter and all this, and the shows were wildly successful. I mean, we used to just pack out the place everywhere we'd go.
Right.
And that's basically how I found out that Alice was looking for someone, another guitar player, because Ryan Roxy has, been with Alice for God knows how long, a long time.
Yeah.
So that's basically how I got the audition,
Through Ryan. Yeah, that's awesome. So how did that go? What did you do when you auditioned? Did you do a live audition with Alice, the band, or?
I honestly don't remember an official audition. It was more like Alice, I think he knew of me, and he knew of the stuff that we were doing with Glam Nation, so he knew that I could front and play guitar, and he thought I had the look and the attitude. So we just kind of just casually met, and then I was asked if I'd like to be a part of it.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of referencing with him, and I know all the guitar players he's had, through the years, and he always finds great people. I mean, he's just he's just a genius.
I mean, hey.
Oh, that's right, bro. That's right. You and our other buddy Damon Johnson, which I think you were probably part of him getting into Alice Cooper, right?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
When it came time for me to leave Alice, I was like, well, you need to call Damon because he can play all this stuff better than me, so hire him.
Right. So what did you learn from Alice Cooper? I mean, that's got to be crazy playing with Alice. You're bigger influence, you're a kid, and you're watching, listening to all this stuff, and then the next thing you know, you're on stage with Alice Cooper.
Well, I still to this day think he's one of my greatest influences, really, but not just in music, but with life. He's a very worldly, wise, engaging guy.
Yeah.
He's very aware of what's going on. And he is a really damn good poker player. So I learned everything about poker from him.
And golf, right?
Yeah, I never really hit the golf course. All the rest of my friends did. I was usually hungover.
I got you. I was going to say, and golf's big for him, right?
6 o'clock tee off, no matter where you're at.
AM? Holy crap. That's wild. I met Alice a few years back. I'd never met him, and he was the nicest guy. He was super nice. So nice.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, I was going to say I call him my rock and roll father. I mean, he really is.
Right. He's just super. And so Damon hit that thing. In fact, this is going to lead me into a story. I think I told you this story, but basically when you left Cooper and Damon came in, there was this crazy story about Eddie Van Halen that was going on in the internet. And you know I'm a huge Van Halen fan. So I heard about this private party they were going to have through some of the people I knew that were going to be there. And so I went to see Alice Cooper, though, in Nashville at the Ryman Auditorium that night. And Damon was playing, and Eric was with him. And I met up with Damon afterwards, and I came home. And I got on the internet to see what happened. There's a video. I hit the video. And there's Eddie and Eric Dover. And I'm like, that's Eric Dover. What is Eric Dover doing there? So how did this happen with Eddie Van Halen, dudes? I mean, that's the craziest thing. And tell me about this party, if you can tell me some stuff.
Well, that came about through Slim Jim Phantom from the Stray Cats.
Yeah.
It was another one of my very dear friends. And he'd called me up and said, hey, Ed's having a party. They need guys to play. And I think he called a few people, Brian Tishy being one of them. Stefan Adika was, I think, there on bass. And asked if we wanted to do it. So I was like, of course.
Yeah, right.
And it really was the wildest party I've ever been to in terms of spectacle. I mean, there were Cirque du Soleil dancers in the living room, up on these lines doing all this weird stuff. And there was some guy that had done like this artsy porn that he was doing something with at the time. They had an exhibition of shots in the racquetball room, which is in the house.
Right.
And it was just a who's who of anyone that you could think of was at this party.
Wow.
And it was like 120 dB just blazing through the canyons, just echoing off of the canyon walls. I mean, it was a lot of fun.
I bet. So you were a big fan growing up of Van Halen, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we talked about that once when I was out there. Yeah, what was your biggest Van Halen album?
Probably Fair Warning.
Yeah.
I saw that tour in Birmingham when they came through.
81.
And that was pretty much the penultimate rock experience to me at the time. I mean, it kind of hard to match it even by today's standards. Right. It was so hairy and wild and just like, you thought the roof was going to cave in.
BJCC or where at?
BJCC, yes.
Yeah. So you're probably what, 10?
No, I was,
12?
14, maybe 13, 14. Pretty young.
Yeah. Well, I saw that first show there at the BJCC in '84. That was my first Van Halen show, but I had seen one other show in Birmingham before that. Was Billy Squier, Emotion Emotions tour with Saga opening. Remember that band?
Wow, yeah, I totally do.
Right? On the Loose.
Oh yeah, that actually, funny enough, is one of the hardest figures to play on a guitar ever. I mean, you've probably tried it before, but that. I mean, it's like, oh my God, your right hand better be together.
Right, that's killer, man. So the Van Halen thing, did you know Eddie before?
I'd met him a few times because when I was with Slash Snakepit, we opened for a couple of Van Halen shows in California, a few civic centers, and that was when Sammy Hagar was singing.
Right.
So yeah, I'd met him briefly then, but
yeah, I finally met him myself at the Smithsonian. Remember the video that he did with the Smithsonian Institute?
yes.
Yeah, I was at that event, so I met him that
Oh
night.
wow.
He was really cool, really nice. Turned out to be, meeting your heroes can be crazy, but he was great to me.
He's one of a kind.
Right on. All right, you ready for this one? This is a good one.
Uh-oh.
So I'm watching the Brady Bunch movie, and I see Davy Jones in the Brady Bunch movie, and I'm looking at the band, and I'm thinking, that guy looks familiar. And then I realize it's Eric Dover again, showing up in the Brady Bunch movie with Davy Jones. Tell me about that whole thing.
Yeah, that's when I used to go outdoors and everything.
Right.
No, that was another Mark Dionysison connection, if I remember correctly. Again, to go back to that time, I was sleeping on people's couches and living out of my car, and so Mark had found out that they were needing a backup band for Davy Jones in the movie, and we just showed up one morning down at Taft High School in the San Fernando Valley, which is where they were filming it, and the director was like, "Yeah, you guys will do great." You know, we showed up dressed kind of grunge rocky or whatever, and it's like, "You guys will be fine. We'll Taft Hartley you." Then off we went.
Wow. So does anybody else notice you in that movie besides me? Do you get that comment?
Yeah, from time to time, a fan or a friend will go, "I was watching the Brady Bunch movie," and it really was. That is a delightfully funny movie to this day, I think.
Oh yeah, and that's funny because there's that parallel between Slash with Miles Kennedy and Rockstar, I think it was, right?
Right.
Miles Kennedy was in that movie before he was anybody, and then he ends up being Slash's frontman now.
Well, it's networking, right?
right. That's wild, man. That's crazy. So Licorice Quartet, tell me about this new project you're doing. And I heard some of it. Sounds, great stuff, good stuff. It's kind of power pop, sort of. How would you, talk about it? What would you say it is?
Well, it's
Beatly,
really
Beatly, a little.
Well, I mean, some people might say that. I just think it's three guys that like to write songs, getting together and writing and recording to the best of our ability to pull it off.
Right.
So it's very melodically driven. There's a lot of vocals in it, which harkens back a little bit to the Jellyfish days, because for people that have never heard Jellyfish, we were known for our giant vocal ensembles and harmonies and that sort of thing. So we've got 12 songs basically recorded. We just released the first EP called Volume 1, as you would expect.
Like four songs, right?
Yeah, 4 songs on this EP.
Right.
And that's going really well at the moment. It's been well received.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that.
So you're just going to split it into multiple, like, small releases of EPs, or?
Right. We intend on putting out 3.
Okay. Cool.
So, within the next couple of months, you'll see a Volume 2.
So you guys, I saw an interview with you talking about this. You're doing it remotely, somewhat from each other. You're recording it like you're recording at home and they're recording at home, and how are you guys recording it?
Well, no, we recorded in a room together.
Okay.
It was a very organic process back before all this
stuff happened, right?
Stuff happened. We got together at my studio and started kind of, songwriting with the acoustic and just playing ideas back and forth for each other.
Yeah.
And then we kind of found some ideas that we were happy going forward with. And then we had Jeremy Stacy, who plays with King Crimson, track the drums for us.
Okay.
We did that at Ken Sluter's studio at the time. So, and we did some remote stuff. I mean, I did a lot of guitar stuff at home in my studio.
Right.
But we did stuff at, once we got together as well. It just depends. There was a lot to have to do. So
Yeah. Yeah. So it's pretty much. I mean, nowadays, what do you doing with studio stuff? What kind of you just got a home studio with Pro Tools, or we were both kind of gearheads back in the day. So one.
Oh, I still am.
Right. So tell me about your gear lately. What are you doing?
Well, I wouldn't say that my studio is fancy. I just think it's well thought out,
Yeah.
and I don't have anything very expensive, but I've just sort of researched whatever it is that I need and try to make the best choice for it.
Right. Right.
And so far, no complaints. I've learned a lot of engineering in the last 3 or 4 years because I was just tired of not getting the sounds I wanted.
Sure.
And
And then,
a lot of people are going back to a lot of people are using virtual modelers and built in the box amps these days, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. We use a little of Kemper stuff on Licorice Quartet thing, but as for what I prefer, I still like the real thing with a mic and a preamp. And
yeah, when I saw you, I came out there. God, it must have been 5 years ago now, but it was Manhattan Beach. You were playing out there at that club there. I forgot what it was called.
Ponchos.
Yeah, Ponchos. You were playing, I think, at 800, or wasn't it, or 900?
No, that's a 2000.
Oh, is it?
Actually.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that amp for 20 years, and I've done a lot of mods on it too.
Yeah.
So
you just is that what your main amp is now, or?
Well, pretty much 100 watts because I play with a lot of very aggressive drummers.
Right.
So 100 watts works fine for me.
Right.
50 can be a little bit shy, honestly.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Definitely, a 50 can be shy. Yeah. I've got a Friedman small box 50 now. That's what I use a lot of times when I'm not doing a direct thing or whatever. But that's that and a Slash Silver Jubilee 100 watt head that I love.
Well, those are awesome if you could find them.
Yeah. Well, I actually bought the reissue when it came out about 3 or 4 years ago, and they did some tweaks to it to make it a little cleaner inside and stuff, and it's still killer. Man, it's awesome, killer amp.
Yeah, have you ever done any tube rolling?
What is that?
It's nothing more than just taking a different value preamp tube,
okay,
and sticking it in. And one of my big complaints with some of the newer Marshalls was they would tend to get fizzy sounding.
Right.
So this is not necessarily something you may want to try or not, but in the first gain stage, I stuck an AU7 preamp tube in there, which is not quite as hot. And it did seem to open the amp up a little bit, I thought.
On your
just FYI.
On your 2000.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and you were playing a Les Paul Standard, the red one that you have, right? That's your kind of main axe.
Right. That's my 78, and yeah, I've had that since Jellyfish. She's retired now. I don't take her out anymore, but I bought a 2019 Les Paul Classic, and that's been my kind of live guitar as of late.
Wow. Yeah, it's crazy though, all the stuff and how much has changed. You think about when you and I were in music stores, working in music stores, and I think that when I first went into Music Alley where I worked eventually, it was the X15 Fostex. Remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I love those reel-to-reel Fostexes. They're awesome. I'd still have one.
Which one do you have?
Well, I wish I still had one. I had an R8 for the longest. I did all my early demos and some stuff that wound up on records on a Fostex R8, and it was heavenly. Use a SMPTE code, and you're on your way.
I have mine out here in the closet around the corner. The R8. I have an R8 still.
Yeah. Do you ever use it?
You know what? I transferred when I was transferring stuff. I transferred all the Pro Tools from my R8, and but I haven't had it out. I should.
Well, yeah. If you ever decide you want to sell it, I might be interested in buying it.
Yeah, really?
Sure.
I got it for, when, God, they were like $3,200 when they were new. And then when that pretty much went, to digital, they were selling them for like $800. So I grabbed one because I loved it so much, and I had it for until Pro Tools probably 99, I think it was 98, I believe. You remember Jamie Robertson, right? That I played with.
I sure do. I was going to ask how he is.
He's good. He's over in Mississippi now. And,
good.
And so he's. I don't think he's playing any, but and all my guys, Ross Young, who worked there at Music Alley, he's still playing with me, and the Pandas, and Dave Brown, right?
Mm-hmm.
He goes by DD Rockstar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he was a singer in Panda Bang Wangus back then. Remember, the three of us are still back together without the bass player. So we're still playing.
Well, give them all my kindest regards.
They'll see that. They're sure enough, man. They'd love to see it. A lot of people from Birmingham really were excited about seeing you. And will you ever come home?
Be happy. I was about to come home before all this started.
Right.
So, but yeah, I get back when I can. I, still love to see my old friends and the family too.
Your brother's still in the business as far as the bar business?
No, he straightened up and made himself an attorney a few years ago.
Wow.
Well, any day now you'll see him on the, on Channel 6 going, "Have you been injured in a automobile accident?"
Right.
Look for it.
Right. That's amazing, man. Well, I'm glad I could catch up with you finally, man. We got to get together when I'm out in L.A. next. If we can get out to L.A. I had a tentative thing out there for Ted Templeman's book release. He, a friend of mine, is the writer of the book for Ted Templeman's new biography, Greg Renoff. Greg was the one that, I don't know if you saw that book, but it's a Van Halen book, Van Halen Rising, it was called. And it's all about the early years prior to being famous.
Well, was there ever a point where they weren't famous?
Oh,
though?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that even when they exploded on the scene here, everybody knew that they were going to be the kings.
Yeah, right. And Templeman, of course, he was the guy that got in there and got them to the studio and finally got it done. And so he's got a new book out. I don't know if you know his history, but he was a Doobie Brothers producer and Montrose, and he did all those great records.
Right.
So
did a lot of those records.
Yeah. So as far as producers go, who did you love growing up as far as producing or engineering?
Don Landy.
Yeah. Don's.
We
tried to get. Mutt Lange. Don Landy, we've tried to get to come out of the bushes, but he's apparently he's a little shy. We would love to talk to Don Landy because he has no lead, or Mutt Lange.
Right. And I, as far as anybody that did that stuff when I was a kid growing up, it was still basically like trying to read Sanskrit. I had no idea of anything about engineering. I knew that they had their name on it. I knew who the producer was.
Right.
Then we had a friend in college named Courtney Bagukin. He went to Full Sail Recording. So when we started recording at Ardent in Memphis, he was the engineer.
Okay, cool.
So then that was about the time I started, going, oh, engineering. You got to, you align the tape head and run the tones through, and you EQ like this, not like this.
Yeah. One of the first times I think I heard some of your original music was I was over at Bates Brothers recording, and they had pulled up one of your tracks you were doing and let me listen to one of your songs over there at their studio. And I didn't know you that well then. I think, maybe it was after that I really got to know you as you come in the store in the Music Alley sometimes. You'd come there and I'd go to your place and we'd see each other passing through, and then I think we'd always did those Toys for Tots, and the big Toys for Tots get-togethers, and everybody would switch up and do all those crazy things we did back then at Louie Louie's and all that. So, yeah. It's crazy, right?
Golden memories.
Huh?
Golden memories.
Golden memory. That's right, brother. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, man, and talking today. I've been wanting to do this for a while. Get with you.
Thanks for having me on, Jeff.
Sure, man. And when I get out there, when we get past this stuff, I don't know if they're going to have NAMM this year or not. It looks like they might cancel this year for the first time in, I don't know. I mean, Jesus, decades and decades. I don't know if they've ever canceled, but we'll get back out there as soon as they get some kind of cure, and I'll hook up with you live again, and we'll hang out.
Yeah, I look forward to you visiting for a spell.
One of these days, we're going to get over to Sunset, and we're going to do a cover of Van Halen something. And you get to sing.
Yeah, okay, you got it.
All right, you got it, man. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Jeff.
I'll put
Talking
this.
to you.
I'll get this back up on the internet in about a day or two, and I'll send you a link.
Sounds fantastic, brother.
Thank you, brother. Have a good day, man. I'll talk to you. Let me know if you need anything.
Okay, thanks, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Rock on, buddy. See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.